Welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the prelim fights for UFC 254, Khabib versus Gaethje. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the card and our first fight on the prelim. So in our first fight, we have in the women's flyweight division, Lauren Murphy versus Lilia Shakirova. So look at this fight. This is a fight where it's very sneaky upset potential for Shakirova. Because looking at her resume, it's not the most impressive. Looking at the records of the opponent she's fought, it's not the most impressive. And looking at the fact that she lost to one of those opponents who really had an ugly record, it's not the most impressive. But when you really look deep into it, she should be an undefeated fighter. She was robbed in that fight. And they gave it to the other woman for whatever reason. It was clear that she won. Even the fans were mad. Even the comment section were mad. They disliked the mess out of that video. So it was a weird fight, robbery. I don't know why they robbed her like that, but they did. But I'm really looking at Shakirova. She's a much faster fighter. Much more versatile on the feet, and she has a wrestling pedigree that's at a pretty high level. So I would say, technically wise, she's probably a better wrestler than Lauren Murphy, but I think she's on the smaller side, and her experience is not the best. But really look at her fights. She didn't fight at a pretty high level. My resume-wise, might not look like the highest level, but when you look at her fights, she fights at a pretty high level. It's not like she's some amateurish-looking fighter. She fights pretty solid, but Lauren Murphy definitely has experience and definitely been at a higher level for a longer time. And that would be play a big important part in this prediction, or at least in this fight. Yeah, I said prediction, but in this fight. So it really comes down to experience and the size of Murphy for me. And her grappling. Like, her wrestling definitely not as good as Shakirova's, but her grappling is better overall. And the fact that she's bigger. I feel like Shakirova should probably go down to what's called strawweight or lower. Whereas Murphy could probably be at this weight or higher, like with 125 or 135. I feel like Shakirova should go down in weight. But so I think the size is gonna be a bigger factor. The experience gonna be a big factor. The recent improvements to Murphy striking and riding the street. But like I said, I feel like there's interesting money to put on Shakirova in this one. But I'm gonna lean to Murphy, the vet, to be a bigger, more experienced fighter. Use the jab and use her size. Even though, like I said, Shakirova is a good wrestler, I think Murphy should not be afraid to initiate a clinch or weigh on her a bit. I'm not saying go out there and just try to fully go out there and wrestle with her, but like I said, stick the jab on her, wait for opportunities when because she like throw a lot of spinning head kicks and throw little head kicks. Like really, she like throw a lot of these flashy strikes, which will leave opportunities for takedowns. Even if you're the better wrestler, when you don't want your leg up like that, all you have to do is just tip them a little bit off balance, and they're gonna be on the ground. Get takedown control. And also, she's a wrestler, so if you got her on her back, she's not gonna be in the best situation. So she likes to throw a lot of flashy head kicks. She's very fast and very, like I said, high-paced fighter, but take advantage of those opportunities, catch the kick, take her down, get points. Like I said, she's a wrestler. Like, wrestlers aren't the best off their back, so you could probably hold her there for a good period of time and let's say just win a decision. So what I see this one is Murphy just being a veteran, using the jab, taking advantage of the flashiness of Shakirova and the inexperience of Shakirova, and like I said, getting a takedown, landing the jab consistently, and really just grinding her to a decision in a veteran type way. So in this fight, I got Lauren Murphy via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the lightweight division, Joel Alvarez versus Alexander Yakovlev. So looking at this phone right here, both the same height, reach a little bit to Alvarez, youth to Alvarez. And right now, really looking at the career of Yakovlev, he's been more up than down. I mean, he's been more down than up in the UFC. He might say he got striking like this and had wrestling like that, but really what I see him is, really cut and dry with this one. What I see with Yakovlev is a guy that more so than, if you're like, only he's gonna really beat you, you're really not the best striker yourself or the best talent yourself, or you kind of a wrestling deficiency and he could go and take you down and thrive in that area, or wrestling or grappling deficiency, he could take you down, submit you, or take you down and control you, and that's really where he's won. Like, so I think where he beat a old Gray Maynard, he was much bigger than and younger than, and et cetera, et cetera. And already at that point, Gray Maynard's chin was glass, and he was getting out wrestled by a Gray Maynard a lot of that fight as well. It's more so striking that saved him in that fight. But he did have some takedowns of his own, but yeah, an old Gray Maynard. I think this one Brazilian dude that's not the best takedown defense. I'm just getting his name right now, but yeah, he only got like 2 or 3 wins in his whole UFC career and like 5 or 6 losses. But I really see this fight like that. I feel like Yakovlev, he's supposed to have striking like this and this and that. Never really been the best at moving his head. So I think, Alvarez would be able to touch him consistently on the feet, then on the ground. I think Yakovlev will be able to, I mean, not Yakovlev, I mean, Alvarez can defend his takedown or find success with his grappling from if Yakovlev tries to overextend on his takedowns and get him in his padded in guillotine. What I really see in this fight is that Alvarez is going to tag him up, use that reach, use that size, tag him up, be able to stuff some of his takedowns earlier on, and then when Yakovlev starts to extend and try to force takedowns, I think Alvarez sinks in the guillotine and gets him out of there in the second round. So in this fight, I got Joel Alvarez via second round submission. Number 2, our next fight we have in the women's flyweight division, Liana Jojua versus Miranda Maverick. And I see this fight right here is Jojua is a solid grappler. She's showed a lot of improvement from her first fight where she lost to Sarah Moraes. In her last fight she showed improvement from her debut. So I'm not saying in her debut she showed improvement, but after that loss and then going to her next fight, which was her last fight, she showed significant improvement. But I'm not saying I think she still will lose to Sarah Moraes. I still think we haven't seen her again with a grappler or a wrestler who's going to put her on the ground. And I think Miranda Maverick's going to do just that. She's going to take her down and put her on her back. And the fact that she gave a takedown so easily to Sarah Moraes kind of definitely made me question her. Made me lean heavily to Miranda Maverick in this one. Because Moraes not the best wrestler. She has solid jiu-jitsu, but she's not an amazing wrestler. Her takedown off is not amazing. But she was able to take down Jojua pretty much at will, in my opinion, from what I saw in that fight. And on the ground, she was able to control her pretty much at will. Like, she was just in her wheelhouse, and Jojua really had no answer to her grappling. So with this one, I really think Miranda Maverick's wrestling going to come out and pay dividends in this one, or it's going to be an effective tool in this one, or effective past victory. I think Miranda Maverick should be able to have a lot of success with her takedown, and she's going to do that. She's going to push a high pace, constantly go for takedowns. I think she has skills to neutralize Jojua's submission offense off her back. So really keep her down, nail her to the mat, drop ground and pound, and fight at high pace. I don't think she's going to lay on her and then hold her to a decision, but it's really going to be a fight where she takes her down, stays active, landing ground and pound, trying to transition. I don't think she'll get the finish. I don't think she'll be looking just to stall, but I don't see her getting the finish over Jojua, but I do see her taking her down and forcing her will upon Jojua, and Jojua not having the best response to her wrestling and her grappling from Maverick and her heavy top pressure, her takedowns. But I do see her going to decision. Like I said, Miranda Maverick just wrestling her through 3 rounds, dropping ground and pound and pushing the pace. So in this fight, I got Miranda Maverick via decision. Number 2, our next fight we have at a catchweight bout at 140 between Nathaniel Wood and Casey Kenney. So this is a very, very interesting fight. Casey Kenney is 1 inch taller, but Wood has a 1 inch longer reach. I think Wood is the more technical striker. Somebody said he's actually the more technical grappler, probably more technical fighter, but Kenney has that cardio and the pace, and he's just badass like that. But I see it as that Kenney is the better grappler, and he has proven against higher level grapplers, whereas Wood has mostly been fighting strikers and really guys that don't have the best grappling at all. So, of course, you can get better finishes and look better on the ground when you're fighting guys who aren't the best. If Kenney fought those same people, he would submit them. As far as the people that Wood has beat. I'm not saying necessarily people that Wood has lost to, but the people that Wood has beat and submitted. I think Kenney could do it just as good, if not better. He probably would finish the guy that Wood fought in his last fight. But either way, how I see it is that Wood is the better striker, Kenney is the better grappler. Whereas Wood has been finding most of his success in the UFC has been in his grappling. And now he's going against a guy who's proven it against higher level competition. And so what I kind of see, I saw first Wood is more of a striker, but he definitely has improved upon his grappling a lot. And Kenney was more of a grappler, but his striking has upped, leaps and bounds. Especially you look at his last fight. Yeah, that's on my nose. Stuffy's a mug in this one, but yeah. He has improved leaps and bounds as far as the strike, especially in his last fight. He looked so smooth, so sharp, and so composed. And he was already looking for shots that he was going to put the fight away with. So when you start saying shots you're going to put looking at shots that you're looking to put the fight away with, and you're landing those shots, that already shows the confidence and the composure that you been training this, and you see things on the striking that you could take advantage of, and you could set them up and land them and go forward. He didn't get the finish, and to show you that he's not just looking and just swinging and hoping for to land a big shot. He actually knows what he's doing and setting his strikes up, and he's landing them right where he wants to, at the time he wants to, at the force he wants to. So striking has definitely improved. His speed, awareness, and all that, footwork, head movement, like he's improved significantly in his striking. So really what I think this one comes down to is the fact that I think the gap between the striking has closed significantly. And I think Kenney's the better wrestler. And he can push the pace much more than Wood. Striking average, Wood has a higher striking average right now. I think Kenney's overall pace is much higher as far as grappling and striking, and just overall higher than Wood's. So I think he can outwork Wood to an extent. In the grappling exchange, I think he'll get the better of those grappling exchanges. And in a very tight match between two high-level competitors and two promising fighters in this weight class, or at 135, even though they're fighting a catchweight, I think it's going to lean to Kenney's ability to have the edge in the grappling, to outwork Wood by a slim margin, get those takedowns, and win the grappling exchanges in a very tight fight. I think that's the grappling exchanges are what's going to lean it to Kenney. So in this fight, I got Casey Kenney via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the light heavyweight division, Jung versus Sam Alvey. So in this one right here, we got Jung versus Sam Alvey. So Jung got a pretty good right hand. Sam Alvey has a pretty good chin, but as he gets older and he takes big shots, it starts to diminish. And at this point in his career, Sam Alvey seems like he's on the downtrend right now. He kind of finds ways to stick around, but for the most part on the downtrend. He did almost have a good shot in his last fight. He almost caught his opponent. I'm thinking about another fight, by the way. In one of these last fights, he almost caught his opponent and finished him in the last round. But based on his opponent's first 2 round success, he was able to win just off those first 2 rounds and survive in the third. But yeah, for the most part with Sam Alvey, what's weird about him and always been weird about him to me is that he's a slow, weird leg fighter. Like he kind of walks like in a very weird way. He walks like a lurch. Has like derpy legs. Kind of slow. But he wants to be a counter fighter. So you're that slow and you really only got not the most technical fighter, or to me, not the most technical fighter. Having a defensive counter style is kind of weird. Like people get this so weird, slow, not the most technical, definitely don't have the best defense, and you're a counter fighter. Usually counter fighters are very slick, very smooth, very good at defense, very fast, and very technical. Like, so they're hard to hit, hard to read, and they can counter you in like a split second, no matter what you're doing. Like they have like pretty much know everywhere around the ring, and they know where they're at, and have a counter for every single situation. So those typically those people. So Sam Alvey doesn't fit that picture, and a lot of people can just really just outwork him because he's gonna be trying to sit back for a counter, or they gotta just wrestle him, or not wrestle him, but like hold him against the cage because his takedown defense is amazing, but he's still susceptible for people to hold him against the cage. So we've seen that happen in fights. We've seen fights where people just literally just throw a volume and he's too slow to counter them. So yeah, it was a weird style for him. But how I really to see this fight is Sam Alvey diminishing. He's open for the right hand. Not the best head movement. He's too busy looking for the counter. I think Jung is going to slip a short right hand in there with power right on Sam Alvey's chin and put him out of there. I think he's going to be trying to set it up, throwing the jab out there a little bit early, trying to find reads for Sam Alvey, get him to lower his hands a little bit with shots maybe to the body with the jab, and then eventually slip that right hand in there on Sam Alvey and drop him and finish him off in that third round. So in this fight, I got Jung via third round TKO. Now to our co-prelim headliner we have in the welterweight division, Alex Oliveira versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. So looking at this one right here, Alex Oliveira, what I see in this one, I'm not even going to try to just beat around the bush too much. I'm kind of just start a little bit early on this one and see how I see this fight. Well, with Alex Oliveira, I think he's on like a 2-fight winning streak once again. So he's kind of regained himself from that losing streak. So he's definitely got himself in a better light, in a better standing than he was, like a year ago or 2 years ago. But still, I don't think he has improved that much or got him back to where he used to be. And even if he was back to where he used to be, it's always been kind of something with Oliveira about his grappling, or at least when he's on his back. But yeah, when Oliveira is put on his back, he has not looked the best historically in his career. I think Cerrone was able to summon him pretty quickly when he took him down. We saw in the Mike Perry fight, Mike Perry like just slammed him, was on top for a little bit. Well, he's on top for a good bit. He slammed him, then was on top for a good bit. But after he was on top for a little bit, that third round, Alex Oliveira was flat. We saw in the Carlos Condit fight, even though he beat Carlos Condit on the ground, he looked the best. The Gunnar Nelson fight, he was finished when he took it down. He did have opportunity, we kind of reversed it, but once he was put on his back, was taking big elbows, and then got put in there with a triangle choke and was bleeding and leaking. Max Griffin fight. Max Griffin was able to take him down, and once he started, I think when the third round just ended with Max Griffin just on top of him and him like really not being able to do anything. And he's looking flat and tired and fatigued on his back. But yeah, so historically, when he's put on his back, he has not looked the best. And Shavkat Rakhmonov is going to put him there, in my opinion. Shavkat Rakhmonov might not be the most amazing on paper or from which you look at his fight, but from what I've seen, he has a high level skill of wrestling, or high level of wrestling, or sambo, or whatnot. Composed on the feet, and will find those opportunities. So I'm not saying no knock on Max Griffin, but if you're getting taken down by Max Griffin, it's an issue. So you're going to ask against an actual wrestler like Rakhmonov, that's going to be an issue for me, or an issue for Oliveira. Really not an issue for me, but an issue for Oliveira. I feel like Rakhmonov's going to be able to stay composed on the feet, maybe weather some of the heavy strikes of Oliveira, some of the rush and unorthodoxness that Oliveira brings, but eventually find opportunities on the feet. I mean, opportunities for takedowns, get those takedowns. And when he gets those takedowns, it's going to weather heavily on Oliveira. I think Oliveira might be able to get up early for maybe the first takedown, second takedown, but I think Rakhmonov's going to continually put him on his back. And eventually Oliveira's going to be weathered from those takedowns. Rakhmonov's going to be able to maintain established control on the ground. And once he gets to that point where he's establishing control and transitioning, landing ground and pound, I think that's where it starts to be a very bad night for Oliveira. And Oliveira's going to lose his steam, take some ground and pound, and spend a lot of time on his back, probably in that second round. By the third round, Rakhmonov's going to rinse and repeat, put him back on his back, transition, probably get to the mount, start landing ground and pound, drop some elbows, and then keep landing ground and pound. Also the Dalby fight, so keep landing ground and pound until the ref pulls him off in that third round. So in this fight, I got Shavkat Rakhmonov via third round TKO. Now to our prelim headliner we have in the heavyweight division, Stefan Struve versus Tai Tuivasa. So we got the skyscraper versus Bam Bam. So you got the nearly 7 feet tall or 7 feet tall on some cards versus the 6 feet, 6'2", probably, I don't know, he probably really like 6 feet, but 6'1", 6'2", Tai Tuivasa. So I see this one right here is that they both got issues. I think Struve has definitely proved himself more, whereas Tai Tuivasa has not. I think Tai Tuivasa had like one win over Arlovsky where he kind of was close. He knocked out some irrelevant fighters and had a little bit of success against Junior Santos for a little bit of a time, but really not the most success. And Junior Santos was eventually just countered him and knocked him out. But it really was Junior Santos in full control of that fight from start to finish. I don't think Bam Bam really had any real success against Junior Santos, but he was in there at least competitive for a little bit. But other than that, no real success against Junior Santos. Then was stopped. Then he was stopped by I forgot about the Blagoy Ivanov fight, but Blagoy Ivanov outstruck him that one. I think Blagoy Ivanov even rocked him in that one, so was outstruck by Blagoy Ivanov. So even though his striking supposed to be all this and all that, or he's supposed to be this good of a boxer, he was struck by Blagoy Ivanov, who's not really the most technical striker, not really the fastest fighter, and he was outstruck by Blagoy Ivanov. So, and that was like pretty much a pure striking matchup. Then his next fight, Sergey Spivak, who's not the most amazing grappler or amazing fighter. I'm not saying no knock against Spivak, but he's just not the most amazing fighter or amazing grappler. And you're really trying to be somebody in this division. You should not be getting so easily taken down or really taken down at all by Spivak and put in that position. And Spivak just took him down like butter, like this. Literally grabbed his legs and take down. And at first, he kind of got back to his feet, but really after the first takedown, he started to struggle to get back to his feet. That eventually he was glued to the mat. And Spivak was just able to look like a world-class grappler, just bust his face over, have him leaking, and then able to get that arm triangle. And like, he did not look the best at all for me in that fight. And I saw him training in at AKA trying to prove on his wrestling. He was getting out wrestled by little kids, well, high schoolers. But you know, you can say top high schoolers or whatnot. You should not be getting that schooled by little kids, and you're a world class fighter in wrestling. I mean, well, he's not a world class fighter in wrestling, but you're a world class UFC fighter. You should not be getting schooled like that by high schoolers at all, unless they're just some super phenomenal, which they weren't. So his wrestling is still a big question to me. I think Stefan Struve should be able to take him down and dominate him on the ground if he wants to. I think on the feet, that's where the issue is. Is all Tai Tuivasa has to do is be aggressive and kind of come over the top and try to land that big overhand, maybe knock Struve out. But I think Struve's going to use his reach much better in this one. And I mean, like I said, I'm not all that impressed by Tai Tuivasa, anything Tai Tuivasa has done. And he hasn't knocked anyone out. He fought Arlovsky, who also has a glass chin. And I think he really lost that fight. or a notably questionable chin. So maybe his knockout power isn't all that. And even when he was knocking people out early on in the UFC, it was never like he just one punch knocked those people out. He kind of just kept throwing strikes on them, and they were just open sitting ducks in low tier competition that the ref just pulled them off. Like outside, I think with that one knockout over, what's that dude, Rashad Coulter, I think the rest of them were more so TKOs or like flat out TKOs where he just literally just kept running his fist into their face and kind of trying to throw them to the ground till the ref stopped the fight. Well, except Rashad Coulter, I think that's where I think he landed that flying knee and knocked him out cold or something. Outside of that, most of his knockouts are been TKOs, like heavily TKOs, not like no TKO where they just get dropped and finished. They got like halfway out, like they're not even out at all. It's just that they're just taking too much damage and not defending themselves. Pretty much, that's the type of TKOs that Tuivasa has been having. So maybe his knockout power isn't all that. So I feel like Struve has been in there with heavy hitters, been in there with better boxers. I think Tuivasa definitely has a good knockout threat in this fight, given the fact that he is who he is and Struve is who he is. But just based off purely off his knockout power or purely off his striking, not the best that Struve has fought. So I feel like Struve can probably even outstrike Tuivasa at times in this fight, especially if he can take it into the later rounds, push a higher pace, and start to pick apart. Well, not pick apart, but start to outland and land flusher shots and set up his own strikes later on in the fight. But I really see Struve just landing jab, landing his teep, and then waiting for really just trying to close that gap or make Tuivasa close that gap with his aggression, then initiating clinch, then dragging him to the ground, mounting him, landing ground and pound, and then landing a mounted and then putting a mounted triangle on Tuivasa and submitting him in that first round. So in this fight, I got Stefan Struve via first round submission. And that concludes my fight prediction for the prelims of UFC 254, Khabib versus Gaethje. And as always, thanks for watching.